All right, let's start with my first of two favorite top 10 videos of the year. So this is kind of like the bottom half of a top 20, essentially. These are the runner-ups, the surprises, the not quite good enough to be all-time favorites, but they are worth a shout. These are all like, I think actually they're all like 4.5 stars. Like, this is my 4.5 star list. And then soon you will have my 5-star list, and it'll be great. And they are roughly in an order that could change at any given point. Honestly, I have no clue how I feel about the order, but I wrote them down in one because people like that. At least I like that. I love watching people force themselves to choose favorites. Regardless, all of these are about the same ratings, so relatively interchangeable. So let's just start with number 10, which is kind of, it's a catch-all caveat, and this is Cassandra Clare. So Cassandra Clare and I have an interesting relationship. That is, I read her when I was a teenager, back when she was writing books for teenagers. So this was like, oh gosh, I don't know, 2008 or something like that. I read City of Bones. I read that entire trilogy back when I thought it was only a trilogy, and oh boy, I hated it. Oh, I hated it so much. For obvious reasons. If you've read that trilogy, you know. And I never went back. I was like, I liked young adult books back then. I mean, I loved Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent. I read all of them, okay? I was a normal teenager going to the bookstore, reading all of those books. But Cassandra Clare never called back to me, never went back. I wasn't on YouTube. And then for the Goodreads Choice Award videos that I've been doing this year, I read a bunch of Shadowhunter books. And that was largely successful for me. The second half of the, like, present day timeline books were actually way better for me. Books like book number 5, I think, is my favorite. Has one of my favorite stupid CW tropes. And then I liked the past ones. I think the Chain of Gold series, whatever that one's called, that was pretty fun. Infernal Devices was okay. Like, it was just fun. It was a surprise. Like, this is truly a surprise. And then I read Swordcatcher, which is her first adult, which is very different. But I want to read more from it. So, truly, this is here as like, yeah, this is one of my biggest surprises of the year, because I cannot express enough how much I don't like City of Bones. Like, I do not like those first 3 books. Oh, I don't enjoy them at all. So, talk about most improved for me. Like, she's never going to be a favorite of all time author, but I respect what she does. And when I am in that soap opera, melodrama, CW headspace, she tends to bring it, except for Swordcatcher. Swordcatcher seems to be its own thing. I respect it. I'm interested in it. We'll see what happens. Honestly, that book could have been a 4.5 in its own right if the ending was an ending and not just a mid-season break sort of situation. Okay, number 9 is Ink Blood Sister Scribe. This is one of those surprises from the Goodreads Choice Award Challenge. I mentioned in that video that there were books I would have DNF'd, but also books I never would have read if it wasn't for that challenge, that were like not all-time favorites, but fun surprises. And that's what this one was. I just really enjoyed the weekend I read it. It's about these 2 half-sisters and their family relationship with magic and the books that hold magic that you write in blood, and then there's this scribe who's like the last scribe who's taken advantage of by this society to do the magic. And I just enjoyed it. I think it really opened my eyes to, like, I really like contemporary fantasy sometimes. Sometimes it's just nice to just enjoy characters and magic and wander around with them. I think it does come back to my, like, CW supernatural roots. Like, I grew up watching Charmed and Buffy and all that, so, like, I haven't really had an outlet for that. So it was really fun to consume. Were things surprising? No, things were fairly obvious, but it was a really nice surprise, hence why it's at this portion of the list. I feel like this portion is, like, half actual surprises and half, like, these couldn't quite make it to my top 10, so I'm going to, shout about them here. And I think we'll find the divide fairly soon. Number 8 is Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older. I have read her Infomocracy series. I have a trilogy review for that if you want to know. This fascinating world building. Malka Older's world building is so good. Like, if you want well thought out sci-fi world building, you gotta try her out. Especially on, like, a societal level. And this one was shocking to me because it's a traditional detective story. This is like a Watson, Holmesian thing. So we got that Sherlock Holmes character who's like really smart but bad people skills. And we have the Watson character who's more personable and like tries to ground the Holmes character, right? And that's what we have here. And there was also this dynamic of like second chance friendship lovers. It's like when you watch Bones for the first time, it's episode 1, and you're like, whoa, they have a past, but they're coming together again, and they're trying to work things out. It had that energy, which I really liked. And I was just so involved in watching them fall back into each other's lives. And yeah, there is this mystery that I didn't really care about, because I'm still not a mystery girly. Like, it's just truly not a thing that compels me to consume a story. But because it was a novella, it was in the background enough that I could focus on the character interactions like I do when I watch a procedural like Bones. So that was really fun. And this is set on a Jupiter moon, and the world building is really cool. So I'm actually really excited to pick up the sequel, hopefully in the near future. That was a really fun surprise. Another surprise, number 7, is Venko, another one I read for the Goodreads Choice Awards because I did that. And this one, I've talked about it a lot. I was not expecting to like it, even when I saw the top 20. I was like, I'm only going to read the top 10. This one's not going to make the top 10. I'm not going to read it. Look at this cover. I don't understand. But then people told me, this is the author who wrote The Marrow Thieves, which I really did like, and it's also one of the only Indigenous authors on the list. So I'm like, well, I've read her before, and I'm curious now, like, what is this book about? Now it's just like, I need to know. And it is so fun. We have this woman in Toronto who's trying to figure out where her and her grandmother are going to live next because they're going to get evicted. She finds this spoon, and then she's suddenly a part of this coven of women, and they have to find the next witch to join that coven, or else the coven will never be formed. And she has to go on this quest with her grandmother to find this person. So they're traveling across North America to do this. They end up all over the place, which is really fun in itself. And I just love the grandmother-granddaughter dynamic. I love how you feel that love and the frustration, and the grandmother's hysterical. I had such a blast with it. It was such a good time. I don't like quest stories, guys. I don't like quest adventure fantasy, but this really worked for me because of the dynamic of these two people. It was so feel-good, too. Like, if you need a feel-good book, I had fun. Such a shocking surprise. And now I think we are in the section of, like, these books are just, like, I really like them, and they could not fit onto the other list. So let's go. And number 6 being Our Share of Night. What a good horror book. It is just, it's everything I personally want. Like, conceptually and in actual reality of a big, chunky horror story. Like, indulgent is, like, the key here. Like, if you don't want something indulgent, don't pick it up. It's very long. There are no chapters. It's broken into 7 parts. The third part is 300 pages. Like, you're in for it. But, it kind of showed me also that I kind of like secret society occult things. So this takes place in the 20th century in Argentina. And we have this father and son, and when you first meet them, they are going somewhere kind of in secret in a hurry, and you don't know why, and then you learn what his father's involved with in this occult, and that's where it all starts. And you're hopping in and out of time at different points, either with the father or the son or the mother or other people who are kind of connected, and it has sometimes that feeling of things like Stranger Things or It, where you have the group of children who don't know that there's this supernatural thing that they shouldn't mess with. It feels so classic. And I loved that it was set in Argentina. I loved it. Like, it was so good. A little long, a little indulgent. Why it can't be an all-time favorite, but I think about it a lot. I really do. I'm glad I have a copy. I'm really glad I read it. So, yeah. Our Share of Night, super good. Number 5. Objectively not as good as the book I just talked about, but we were just talking at the beginning of this how I have a CW supernatural phase, so Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I really liked this book. And this book is a combination of a surprise / I really liked it, like gave it 4.5 stars in its own right. Like, I wasn't going to read this book. But then I figured, it's going to be on the Goodreads Choice Awards because Leigh Bardugo is the queen of the fantasy and young adult section for those things. Whenever her book comes out, she wins her category. She just does. I feel like she's not a dark horse. She always has, but everyone kind of forgets that she has that type of pull over there. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this project, I need to read Hellbent. I've read Ninth House. I liked Ninth House. Let's go. But initially, before I was going to do this project early this year, I was like, do I need to know what Alex Stern's up to? Nah, I'm good. You know, it wasn't anything negative. I was just like, I can move on. Well, this was a blast. It was perfect for October. I just had so much fun. I was here with Alex Stern. And I think some of the issues that people have with Ninth House, I totally get. I didn't read Ninth House as a dark academia. I don't really know what dark academia is. And which I think is funny as someone who's been in academia for like a very long time. You'd think I'd be the expert, but I don't know what dark academia is. But it's not dark academia. It's season 4 of Buffy, okay? It's when Buffy tries to go to college while being a vampire slayer, and it doesn't go well. That's who Alex Stern is, okay? And at times, there are problematic moments, just like in Buffy. And I just love the campiness of it. I like the found family. I like the setting, and there's like always the subplots of like you have the meta plot, and then you have the like inner character plot, and then you have the sub B plot, and then they do kind of all intersect. It's paced really well. I really enjoy it for what it is. I just don't think everyone knows what it is, because I think this is more in that urban fantasy realm that is usually mass market paperback that most people don't usually read, but it's also not serialized enough to be considered some of those urban fantasies, because otherwise we'd be getting a book like this every year, not every like 3 years, as if it's some great work of art that takes this long to put together. I don't know. Regardless, I really liked Hellbent. It was super fun. That's why it's here. Next up is number 4, Vampires of El Norte. I had fun with this. I had a good time. I'm not surprised that I had a good time. I loved the Hacienda. The Hacienda was good. And this one was good for different reasons. The Hacienda, I loved the chemistry of the characters, which meant I was expecting to love the chemistry of the characters in Vampires of El Norte, which I did. So yay. But Hacienda's pulpy, haunted house, creepy, scary, like, ooh, shivers. Vampires of El Norte, not so much. It means horrifying in its own way in terms of like looking at this part of history, the use of these creatures, the horrors of war, the horrors of the patriarchy, like, etc., etc. But here it is so much more focused on this forbidden second chance love romance thing, and Nestor is everything. I just love Nestor. Like, this is riding on the coattails of Nestor is one of my favorite characters of the year. Like, I just love Nestor so much. He's just... You know, like, if this was the mid-year freakout tag, he'd be my book boyfriend, right? Like, you know, that prompt that none of us ever answer because we're like, we're too old, we're too good for it. Nestor. I love Nestor. He's my new book boyfriend. He's amazing. And that's probably that and the chemistry that Isabel Cañas can put on the page is why this book is here. Number 3, Fourth Wing. This wasn't surprising. Based off what everyone was talking about, I'm like, oh, that's going to be great brain candy for me. That's going to be ideal. I am going to love reading that book. Oh, and I did. And I was strategic. Sometimes you can be strategic. I'm not like a mood reader, but I can sometimes predict sort of what I want. And so when I knew I was traveling to Cartagena for my wedding, I'm like, I need a book that's going to make me want to read for the very long plane ride. And Fourth Wing seemed like it would fit the bill. And I was right, because I also got stranded in the Panama City airport overnight, and I was basically only able to read Fourth Wing, and at least it helped me escape. And I read, like, the first half before the wedding, and then we had, like, the week of festivities, and then when I came home, I finished the second half on the plane. And it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed for those things, and it had more than I expected. I expected the weird romance stuff that, you know, I like those tropes. I'm not here to pretend I'm better than those tropes. I have a good time with it. But it had other things, too, that, like, really, I thought, fleshed it out. It made it have an extra thing. Like, the relationship between dragons and dragon riders, I think, actually worked really well in our context of following Violet. I think the school stuff makes about as much sense as a lot of weird Battle Royale books I read. Like, I don't like reading Battle Royale books, usually. Or I don't mind them. Like, I still like the Hunger Games and stuff. But, like, the first thing I have to do when I'm reading stories like that is go, this doesn't really make sense to me, but let's just assume it makes sense and go from there. And that's how I, like, turn my brain off for that type of the world-building conceit. Although, having read most of Iron Flame, I do think I kind of understand how it sort of kind of works, but that's not my goal. My goal from reading Fourth Wing is not to read a fantasy world that makes sense. I have other books for that. My goal is to enjoy the pining and the nonsense and have a really easy brain candy read, which for me is kind of hard to come by. Like, I want a book that immerses me and just makes it so easy to flip the pages. I just don't have many like that, and this book, it did it. All right, number 2, Legends and Lattes. This was actually very surprising to me. I was so nervous. Normally when people talk about warm hugs of books, that's like the kiss of death for me in a book. It's normally like, oh no, I'm gonna hate that book because I am apparently a Grinch. But no. This one I actually read after we came back I believe in March, from seeing the venue for the wedding. I got sick, but I didn't know I was sick yet. This was the calm before the storm, but I was tired. We had such a long travel day, so I just sat on my couch and I had the book nearby and I'm like, maybe I read it, maybe I don't read it. I spent all day reading it. It was perfect. I love the building, the company sort of thing. For me, it felt so good, especially because I read this like you would read a romance. I knew it had to work out. You know, I never felt stressed. I just enjoyed that. I enjoyed all the people around it. It was just fun. It was a good time. I think it's really strengthened for me by the moment in which I read it. I don't think I would ever want to reread it. Like, it doesn't have that type of fave energy, but it really hit the spot when I picked it up. And then number 1 is The Faithless by C.L. Clarke. This is so close to making it to my top 10, but I think part of what hurts it is it's been so long since I've read it. I haven't read it since like January. I really liked it, and I'm itching for the 3rd book. I need it, and I'm really excited to reread The Unbroken and The Faithless. I still love Terrain. I still love Luca. Well, loving Luca is hard, but we manage. Those of us who read this series, we manage. It was such a good follow-up to the 1st book, especially because this is a messy series about messy problems. It's about an occupied land. It's a lot. It's inspired by our history, but it's also dealing with its own stuff. It has cool magic, but it doesn't get distracted by the magic. I'm excited for the 3rd book, excited to reread them. This was one of the highlights of the first half of my year. So it had to make it on one of the lists. It just didn't quite make the cut for the top 10, which you will see later on this week on my birthday. So that's this list. Let me know what you feel about any of these books that I've talked about. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a dragon. Let's just go with a dragon. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.